We're ready, right? Okay, it is 7:30. It is Tuesday, March 7th. We are here for our regularly scheduled city council meeting. I'd like to hereby call this meeting to order. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for words of inspiration by Pastor Bob Morrissey from our church at Clawson. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Morrissey.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here, and we'll pray. Father, I thank you for this city, and I thank you for all the people that live in it, and for the many who do their part to make it a better place to live for all of us. Thank you for all the contributions, and especially for those who run for office and serve. And I pray that you would bless their service, and I pray that you'd bless their families. And I know many times in the public spotlight can be a difficult place to be. And so I pray for wisdom for each person who serves, and I pray that the decisions would be I pray for decisions that would honor you and would be for the good of the community as a whole. And so I pray that you bless this meeting tonight, and each person here and who watches online. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And thank you, Pastor Morrissey. Your church is looking great, and Pastor Bob does a lot of stuff for our community. He hosts Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts out of his troop. Recently had a chili cook-off competition that was extremely fun, and it just supports all things Clawson, and we really appreciate your taking time to come here tonight. Thanks. Have a good evening. So roll call, please, Mr. Gitschlag.
Mayor Milan.
I am here.
Mayor Milan, there you go, present. Mayor Pro Tem Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Sampson's absent. Councilmember Shepherd.
Here.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Here.
That is a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda would be approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I have a motion. I motion that Mr. Nushai remain in his current seat on the Ethics Board until the current ethics concern is resolved and a reappointment policy is defined and running by the City Council. Support.
Your motion is to add that to the agenda or to just do that now?
We can.
What's
This is the approve of the agenda, so adding that to the agenda would be the,
We can address that when it comes up, when we have the other items on the agenda for appointment, so we can move that to item E. Right, I mean, that is
Yeah,
item
that's
E
what I want. Sure,
anyways, but you can make that a motion then.
that would be appropriate at that time.
Okay,
Yes.
thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
All right. Okay.
Anything else?
I think they're the goal setting. The motion for that, I think we should remove that from the agenda since Councilman Sampson is not present.
Okay,
That's a,
anyone okay with that?
well, we have a motion.
I'm sorry, will you repeat that, please?
Yeah, so the motion that Mr. Tinlin made was agreed would just be taken up as as part of the regular agenda, because there was not a second, so that did not.
Oh, I second.
You did second it.
I second it.
So
Ideally, that is item E. so
I
there's really
agree,
no
but
need,
there was a
right?
motion and it was seconded,
No.
and
So I rescind my second so that it can be placed on the.
it'll just be brought up as part of that agenda item, which I think is appropriate. Do you too? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
So but I had a motion in a second, so I had to address it.
I was going to say,
So-
where does this fall into his motion? So.
Right, so
if I
now we
say
have-
Take it off, then we're good.
Perfect.
Okay.
So now we have a motion to remove item F.
Yes.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Roll call, please. Oh, yeah. We have to agree on that one,
So
right?
now
Second.
is to remove it.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Is removed.
Okay, thank you. So we've approved our agenda, slightly amended our agenda to remove the goal-setting workshop, and the other item basically stays the same. That's a
So
conversation, so.
Do we still need to, we have to take it off? Are we saying that was your motion to approve it and have that taken off? Is that the motion, or just take it off?
Just take it off. We should
The goal
probably
setting?
move to approve the agenda now.
Yeah. I
So,
know that,
yeah, okay, so Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda for Tuesday, March 7th, 2023.
As amended.
As amended, thank you, as amended.
Sure.
I'll second.
Anderson. Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Sampson. Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, just to recap, we amended the agenda to leave item E as is for discussion and then to remove the item F, discussion on establishing goals. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which will be public comment for items on the agenda. If you'd like to speak towards anything that is on our agenda this evening, you're welcome to come to the podium. We'll allot you 3 minutes. We just ask that you state your name and your address.
Madam Mayor, there was a resident that emailed in for public comment, and I believe it sent it to all of you and asked if I could read it with your permission.
Sure.
Okay. Madam Mayor and members of council, my name is Laurent Nushai, and I reside at 176 Phillips Avenue. I'm writing about my reappointment to the Board of Ethics as I am unable to come in person to tonight's meeting. Regarding my appointment to the Board of Ethics, per our city's charter regarding service on boards and commissions, members are to serve until they resign or are replaced. I have not resigned, nor do I wish to resign, and I have properly submitted my paperwork to be reappointed. The effort to appoint Mr. Quinn or Mrs. Moffett is not to fill a vacant seat, but to replace me on the Board of Ethics. I would like to direct council's attention to the Board of Ethics meeting held on February 27th, 2023. During public comment, Mr. Quinn stated that, quote, "An ethics violation was filed against our mayor, who I support 100%. And I have not seen her to be unethical in anything that she does," unquote. And, quote, "I was a little perplexed when I found that Mayor Milan was brought in front of this board," unquote. His comments show a clear bias and lack of intent to act in a fair and impartial manner on the matter at hand. Ms. Moffett made remarks at the meeting as well and stated, quote, "The only issue is, did the mayor act with a disregard to the public's interest in an unethical manner? There is no path to take to come to the conclusion that she did," unquote. Her comments, too, showed a clear bias on the complaint before the board, as she has already made her decision. Council has historically been very consistent on reappointments. Those wishing to continue their service on the various boards and commissions of our city are reappointed. As such, a vote to remove me from my seat and replace me with either Mr. Quinn or Ms. Moffett shows a clear intent to prevent the objective review of the complaint filed and to ensure an outcome that would favor the mayor. I would like to remind council of one particular reappointment during the December 21st, 2021 council meeting, where the reappointment of Mr. Gregory Cusera Jr. was merely pulled out of the consent agenda by a council member for discussion and was met with great ire and ridicule by him. Mr. Cusera stated, "I have been around all my life, and you want to question me? Go right ahead. You are an embarrassment to our city," unquote. He, of course, was subsequently reappointed and currently serves as planning chair. Lastly, I would like to point out that there are many expired terms on boards and commissions in our city, so I ask, why this seat, why now? Laurent Nushai, proud resident of the great city of Clawson.
Great. Anyone else?
Everything I just heard is ridiculous. This is Nate Hara. I was there in that meeting as well. I'm deeply concerned by the defamatory nature of these remarks, and I genuinely hope that justice can be served. Ethics is simply about maintaining integrity among all people here. There is so much conflict of interest going on amongst this discussion. It is deeply concerning. I again ask people just to be considerate of others, be kind, be respectful, and let people do their jobs. And I ask the people that are trying to stir up all of this trouble to take a step back and look at what is going on in the background and how much trust is being eroded in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this evening? Seeing no one come forward, thank you to those who had comments. We appreciate them. And we'll move on to proclamations and presentations. And the first item we have there will be a presentation by the Police Department Bowl-a-thon Scholarship Fundraiser. Welcome this evening.
How you guys doing?
We're doing great. How about you? Thanks for taking your time out this evening.
Hey, not a problem. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. I'm Officer Worth, and I'm here to present you with our 11th annual Bowl-a-thon fundraiser. In 2010, the CPD established a scholarship program to give recognition to high school students who wish to pursue a career with the criminal justice system. We support the continuing education of the youth in our community and seek your participation in raising money for the fund for the scholarship program. To date, we have raised $55,000 and have awarded over 24 college scholarships to students from the Clawson community. The CPD is hosting our 11th annual Bowl-a-thon fundraiser on Friday, March 24th, 2023 at 8 p.m. The check-ins begin at 7:30 p.m. The venue will be held at Astro Lanes, located at 14 and John R. The cost to bowl is $25 per person at the door, or you can pre-register individually or by team for $20 per person. Entry fee includes 2 games of 9-pin no-tap bowling, shoes, pizza, pop, and free door raffle. The pre-registration deadline is the 17th of this month. There will also be a cash bar, 50/50, and a silent auction. All tax donations are tax deductible. Checks and money orders can be made out to the Clawson Food Pantry Police Scholarship. All proceeds will go to the scholarship. Pre-reg and mail to CBD drop-off, or you can email me at jworth@cityofclawson.com. At this time, we are still accepting business sponsors. Any questions?
What kind of things are you accepting from business sponsors?
We accept checks. Some places are doing gift bags or items we can auction off for the scholarship fund.
Okay. Any questions?
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it. Next item on our agenda would be consideration of approving the following consent agenda. Item A, minutes of the regular city council meeting held on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, as presented. Item B, minutes of the special city council meeting held on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, as presented. And item C, a list of bills in the amount of $237,118.92.
Madam Mayor, move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have now approved our consent agenda and move on to item 9, which is new business. First item on our new business would be consideration of the resolution to allow an outdoor service area on city property for White Wolf Japanese Patisserie LLC to be located at 3141 and 45 East 14 Mile Road.
I guess you need a motion.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Discuss or motion?
Yeah, we did.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to discuss the topic.
Second. Yeah, I had sent an email to the council and Mr. Raker just inquiring about some of the details of the patio plan that was laid out. And I think, Mr. Stefanich, you responded back. And if you could elaborate for the council some of the things that address my concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just give an overview of what this request is. So for the last couple of years, White Wolf has operated an outdoor service area in front of their property. And over time, they have the businesses from White Wolf down to Noble Fish, which is east on 14 Mile. And they are going to be expanding and taking over that entire area. And in front of their property, they will be having an outdoor seating, or they're requesting to, and their request comes with approval from the city council to allow them to service liquor, and that's required by the MLCC. So that is what the city council is reviewing tonight, is whether or not they will be allowing White Wolf to operate and sell on the public right-of-way. The plans that were provided were just for reference to give you guys an idea of where they will likely be at. Administratively, the building department and DPW, we work hand in hand to make sure that the fencing is at least 6 feet away from every object and the road. So the plans that you guys saw weren't exactly the final plans. Superintendent Zablocki and I stopped by there last Thursday, reviewed the area, and I've been in touch with an attorney representing White Wolf, and we're working on some final plans.
Okay, good enough. So the attachment that was in the packet is just a draft proposal at this point?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm fine with the concept and some of the details I was concerned about, so I'm sure you'll work those details out in the near future.
Yes, we stopped by and let them know about some of the trees and the other objects in the area that they need to be at least 6 feet away from.
Okay.
So we have concern, there are a few other eateries in our downtown area that people are constantly concerned over encroaching out into the sidewalk space. Do you have a plan in place to ensure that doesn't happen? Because it's kind of a bone of contention to people who are walking in some areas. And I know that there are a few things that could cause problems. I know you said you'll watch it, but how do we ensure that once we approve something, that it stays within the appropriate right of way, it doesn't encroach out, and that people don't say, I could put another table here, I could put 2 more here, and go deeper? Because I think that's what's happened in some of our other spots.
Yeah, and I also think some of it has to do with the seasonal aspect of it as well. But regarding the encroachment of it, I mean, they're fences that they're not stationary or drilled into the cement. So, I mean, there is a little bit of leeway in the opportunity that an employee moves them out. And if that happens, we'll have our code enforcement stop by to make sure they move it back to the approved plan. And essentially, we would receive that complaint like we would another code enforcement complaint, whether it's long grass or someone's trash bin was left out too long.
But, so, can you just state that you'll follow up on that? That you'll ensure
Absolutely.
that it takes place? Because it is seasonal, because seasonal is, when it's nice out, people are dining outside. When it's nice out, people are walking, running, riding their bikes on the same sidewalks because they can't do it on the street over there. So that's the concern, just to make sure that people stay within the parameters. And not just them, like, they may not be the offenders, but we do have some offenders. We've all heard about them, and the intent is good, and that's the best problem we can have. There's a lot of people who want to be in our community utilizing our services, but new opportunity to ensure that there's some pretty good guidelines to make sure that they stay as such and they don't, just encroach and take over a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be actively making sure that they don't break their approved plan. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else?
So this is not something that would come up in front of planning commission because it's an existing business that's not overtaking, but they're moving into another retail
Well,
space.
correct. It's also temporary too, so it's not, I mean, right next door is Detroit Burger Bar. Theirs is not temporary, so that's different. So there would be no need that this would have to go in front of the planning commission.
Okay, but even the detail that's happening on the inside does not rise to that recommendation or requirement that it goes in front of planning commission?
That's correct, because it's all interior work.
Yeah, okay. So this is really the only opportunity we'd have to take a look at what their plans are, and that you guys are obviously you're aware of what the encroachment is, and that 6 feet has been deemed appropriate that's the requirement though, right?
That's the ADA requirement, yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. And so, yeah, that's
The minimum.
yeah, so I'm good with it.
As far as the ADA requirement goes, the 6 feet, is that 6 feet total or 6 feet each way?
So it would be 6 feet total. So if there's a tree located in the public right of way, that tree has to measure 6 feet from the fence or barrier that encompasses the table and chairs.
All right, because I'm just envisioning, 6 feet is plenty of space for a single person, a wheelchair, a person on crutches. But the traffic going through there is going to be two-way. So it's not like we're going to have 2 6-foot sections or 12 feet to play with here. I guess, again, I'm not familiar with the ADA requirements, but I'm guessing that that's for a one-way, not a two-way?
So the 6 foot requirement, I believe, allows for 2 wheelchairs to pass by each other, and that's why that is 6 feet.
Okay, I guess I was part of a fire drill once, and people with crutches and that, it gets ugly really quick when you've got a lot of people moving and you've got someone with crutches and or wheelchairs in the mix. So,
And that's one thing I did share and speak to with, I think they're going to be I don't think they're going to be coming close to the 6 feet. I think they're definitely going to give some leeway between that 6 feet. So I imagine it'll probably be closer to 7 or 8 when it becomes for the final project.
yes, based on what I've seen, you saw this photograph I sent, which coincidentally, the Detroit Burger Bar, that awning is 7 feet. Yes, I stopped by and measured some things. Right.
That's technically a non-conforming use at this point. So if they
And
did
that's
go
fine,
in
but
front of
just
the planning commission.
for reference purposes, I know it's permanent, I know these patios will be temporary, but just when you look at the pictures, look at the dimensions, that is the 7 foot. And again, in front of Detroit Burger Bar, there's not a lot of things in front of it, so you got lots of room to play with. Once you move eastward, you've got the trees, you've got the signs, you've got the street lamps. So I guess that, again, I'm just envisioning a lot of people in that area trying to get through.
And once it gets in there, I will definitely go measure it and then routinely check those locations. I know since we've had some complaints, we'll be more active this year to making sure they're not moving slowly and giving them more space.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. You already made a motion. Roll call, please.
Councilman Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
I will
Thank you. So
give them the
we-
paperwork they need.
Yep, thanks. We just approved that White Wolf Japanese can operate an outdoor service area in front of their property and just fulfilled the Michigan liquor control requirements by saying we're in favor of allowing that to happen. So the next item on our agenda is item 9B, which is consideration of the appointment of Bob Erland to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate for a term to expire December 31st, 2025.
Madam Mayor, I move the appointment of Bob Erlin to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate for a term to expire December 31st, 2025.
Second.
Any comments?
I'm just saying that I've had the pleasure of getting to know Bob over the past couple of years, and I think he did a fine job in that position.
And we appreciate his willingness to serve. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Congratulations, Bob Erland. You will now be our newest Zoning Board of Appeals alternate. We thank you for your service. Next item, item 9C. Wait, is it 9? Yes, 9C. Consideration of the appointment of Jeff Heng to the Board of Review, term to expire December 31st, 2024.
Madam Mayor, I move the appointment of Jeff Hang to the Board of Review for a term to expire December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Any comments?
I'll just say the same thing. I've met Jeff one other time, and it was several years ago, but I was impressed with what he brings to the table.
And most importantly, his willingness to serve.
Exactly.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Thank you.
We move on to item D, which is consideration of the appointment of Planning Commissioner Nathan Hara as a liaison to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term to expire December 31st, 2024. Ed Sanaki recently retired from his public service with the city of Clawson after many, many years serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And his function on ZBA was full-time ZBA, and he was an alternate to, well, no, he did both, right? So he was on the ZBA and he was the liaison to the Planning Commission. Nate Hara has offered to take on his role in zoning, so this is what's before us today. Anyone like to make a motion?
Yep. Madam Mayor, I move the appointment of Planning Commissioner Nathan Hara as a liaison to the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Any comments?
I'll just say the same thing about Nate.
And roll call, please.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Set.
Great. So now, for those paying attention, we've just satisfied a zoning board of appeals alternate position with Mr. Bob Erland. We have satisfied a board of review position with Mr. Jeff Heng. And I believe there are more positions available for board of review if anyone's interested on that board.
Always.
Right? And then we have also successfully filled our liaison spot with the zoning board of appeals with Mr. Nathan Hara, and we thank each of those gentlemen for their willingness to serve. And now we're going to move on to the next item, which is 9E, which is consideration of the appointment to the Board of Ethics expired term. We had 3 applicants. There's one, item A, reappointment of Laurent Newshai for a term to expire September 15th, 2025. Item B will be appointment of Susan Moffett for a term to expire September 15th, 2025. And item C was an appointment of Timothy Quinn for a term to expire September 15th, 2025. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we have a discussion.
I'll second.
All right. So I have
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Milan.
Yes.
May discuss.
Thank you.
It's good.
Does anyone want to start besides me, or?
Go ahead.
So, again, the Board of Ethics definitely has been a point of conversation in the community. So I have one question. When they've had the original meeting, do we have a legal opinion yet on the reappointment of the seat for Laurent?
I recused myself from that issue, Mr. Tinlin, as you may know. I don't know if Ms. Crofton should send an opinion or not yet to you.
I have not received anything as of this
So
time.
I think the answer is no then.
Okay. Because again, attention to detail, I went back and looked at when the appointment was done originally. That was October 19th, 2021. Motion 10-251-21. But I think also that, there was only one time we've used this ethics board. It was October 18th, 2021. It's never been used before. And I really feel that we should just keep the board to remain the same. That's why I made that original motion in the beginning of the meeting, that we allow Mr. Laurent to stay in the current seat, let this ethics concern go through, and then also looking at a reappointment policy. I'm not sure if that's in writing about reappointment. It's very clear about appointments, and I think we need to strengthen that as well, because we have quite a few different challenges if we look at the matrix of reappointments of past due where we have to do that. So I would like to see just Mr. Laurent stay in that seat, and then we have opportunity, I believe at the end of April, there's another seat opening up in the Board of Ethics, and let the process go through its motion. So that's my opinion.
Rennis, I guess I have a question, not on this specific issue, but on in general, appointments and expirations. I think you'd mentioned in the past that when a commissioner or board member, their term expires, they can continue on. It's not an automatic, you get up and get out of your chair.
Well, that's correct.
Explain that.
Yeah, that's correct. It's state law. It's not a matter of opinion. It has been for a long time in this state. We have a couple of attorney general opinions to that end, and again, cases have gone up through the Court of Appeals, and it always has been the same. So with respect to boards and commissions, absent any provision to the contrary in either the charter or the court of ordinances, even though the term, we use expiration terms, it doesn't expire. The person retains the seat until he or she is replaced, or they resign and council or whatever the appropriate board may accept their resignation. And in speaking with August, I think last, when this issue first arose, we've had the same experiences where usually for ZBAs, this happens all the time. And people challenge these issues all the time. They go to the circuit court all the time, and law has never changed. So it's common. And this applies across the board for every board.
Okay,
Council, of course, is different.
So when you appoint someone to, say, a 3-year term, what we're saying is it's really a nominal term. It's 3 years plus if no action is taken.
Correct.
So it could be 3, 4, 10, 30 years if a council never took action.
Correct.
Okay, then, say they've appointed to a 3-year term. Is it possible for a council to take action and remove an individual?
Absolutely.
From a commission? So it sounds like the 3-year term that we reference is extremely nominal. It's 3 years plus or minus. Minus if you decide to relieve them, more if you take no action.
Correct. But good news, it's not just you. It's every council in this great state.
It's not always easy getting people to apply for
Yeah,
certain
and I
things.
think
Like the
that's
Board of
what it
Review is a
addresses.
very
Yeah.
good example of that.
Now, that's what it addresses, particularly, and thank you, August, for that. Board of Review point in question, because you have that up tonight, is a board that requires some specialization, hopefully, right? It seeks certain individuals with certain practice, certain experience, certain training. And it's not always easy, and that's what that rule, I think, attempts to address that issue.
I understand it's difficult to recruit people to be on these commissions. I mean, they're basically volunteer positions, and they require some level of expertise. I just, again, I'm not an expert in these matters, that's why I'm asking you. So really, the 3-year is really extremely nominal. I mean, there's really nothing, it's not like other terms of service.
It's not quite the, I think it's not quite the president's term, yes, I think you're exactly right.
Okay. So then, when a person's 3-year term comes to expiration, if, like the situation we're in, council doesn't take action, we just keep drifting in time, and the 3-year becomes a 3.5 or a 3 3/4, at some point, can the council take action to reappoint that seat?
Of course.
Okay. And when they do, does the person who now takes that position, or that seat, do they have 3 years from the time they were appointed, or does the clock begin when the other person's expiration date ended?
typically when the expiration date kicks in. That's been the unwritten rule.
Okay, so if, say, for example, a 3-year term comes, council takes no action, 3.5 years, they decide, no, we're going to reappoint someone else. That other person technically is in a 2.5-year term situation. Again, in the most nominal sense.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So at this point, I think Councilman Tinlin's idea of just leaving it run for now until this current ethics investigation is done, is that, Mr. Tinlin, am I stating your
Yep,
position
and that's
correctly?
what I wanted. I mean, before, the ethics board, again, only had one time they were ever used, and it was not a big issue. So I think right now for the community, we just leave it the way it was, because originally, yes, September 2022 would have been an opportunity, right, for the council, but we didn't. And then also because we have a lot of these other reappointments, I would much rather Mr. Laurent stays in that seat. Then we can have a discussion at a future date, 30 days, because I know another seat is coming up as well. I think that would be fair.
I have to admit, the current situation we're in is a bit awkward with the current complaint that's filed. So in light of that, I think I tend to agree with Mr. Tinlin that at least for the near term, we just let that seat remain as is. And then once that's resolved, we can reassess both that seat and apparently, I guess, Mr. McCullough will not be seeking to be reappointed, is my understanding. So we'll have 2 seats to deal with. And yeah, I think a procedure may be needed, because when we look at all these commission positions and all the appointments required, the ethics board alone, you've got 3-year terms, you've got 5 people. Every 6 months, pretty much, we'd have to look at somebody practically, and then all the other positions. So looks like that's going to be a big council job. So.
Yes, sir?
Madam Mayor, after the last meeting, I sat down with August and with Nick and discussed the possibility of adding a city clerk's comments at the end of each meeting so that he could make the public aware of vacancies, of pending expirations. We kind of, August does have a good perspective as far as on a reappointment kind of rub there that may be existing with current volunteers. But there's an expiration on there for a reason, and if we can make a reappointment process, fairly easy if they want to, but I do think that it is important that we share the expirations of seated members in advance so that anybody who wants to apply for those positions can actually apply, and their applications will be considered by the council. That's just 2 cents for transparency from the administration to the council and to the public.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay really silent on this topic just because of the issue at hand. But I will say that traditionally, the city clerk can share that information with this body or with me as the individual to make the announcement, since ideally I get to make the appointments on almost all of these boards. It is my call on whom we appoint or whom we bring before the council, and then the council confirms. So I have no problem with you having comments at the end of a meeting, but that is not something that requires city clerk comments. It's something that that's information that should be openly shared on a regular basis anyways.
I think
So
the idea of
I
comments
think-
is more of a report, is what he meant. Not
Okay,
comments.
whatever the
To-
verbiage
to
is.
share the trans-
Yeah.
The information of boards and, I don't know, I'm assuming you follow up on those, right? So this whole process was, I can't talk about this process right now, but I'd love to talk about it later because there's so many flaws to it. But I'm open with information being shared 100%, not just with this body, which I think would be extremely critical to maybe step things up a little bit, but also with the general public who might be willing to serve 100%. I would say that's an exceptional idea. But don't start with just sharing the information with the public. Please also share it with this council.
Oh, that's what
It'll
would be
be shared
shared. Yeah, here.
But you can share information with us, through emails and such like you've done in the past, or just a conversation that just says, hey, do you know we have openings on blah, blah, and blah? Do you know anyone? Do you want to check anyone out? That can be done as well. It doesn't have to always be a formal thing because, we can just share information openly, right? Not breaking any rules, because that's not breaking rules, that's sharing information.
Yeah.
It'll also help with lighting a fire under the rear ends of people who have expressed verbally that they'd like to stay on their board, but I have to pull their teeth to get their reappointment paperwork. So if we can sort of call them out a little bit, I think it would help as well.
I don't think we need to call anyone out, right? People may just not be aware.
Oh, they're aware.
I don't know what I'm not sure what
It's like bug
transpired
them.
with this one to all of a sudden have an awareness. I could guess, but there was an awareness all of a sudden that wasn't there probably the week prior. And that's, if I remember survey on planning, I think I got a notice when my planning service was up because it was 3 years back then and I was on for 4-ish. So that's, it's you guys' responsibility to send someone a notification that says, are you interested in continuing? And then it's this body's pleasure to determine whether or not they will continue to serve, because it's not an automatic for anything. But
Right.
always will take willing people.
So it sounds like you've got a plan to keep everyone informed, and we'll move forward with that.
Yeah, in our staff meetings, I encourage the staff member who works with that board to be up on their board members as well, so that they're aware of who's expiring, who's not, and who's they could recommend. There are people. Some people are better to work with than others. So we did discuss it in our staff meetings so that our staff is aware when they sit on that board to also help keep track of the expiration dates. Know their people.
And resignations.
Yeah, and resignations, that's another thing. People will resign from a board and then never gets filtered down to me sometimes, so.
Stuff to work on. So if there's no other comments, I guess we'll roll call, please. And I'm going to not vote on this one. I'll be
Do we have an official motion to keep,
What was a discussion is what the
Yeah.
motion was.
we're just discussing,
So I'll, Madam Mayor, I'll motion that Mr. Nushai remain in his current seat on the Ethics Board until the current ethics concern is resolved.
I'll second that.
But that's not a reappointment.
I just say remain.
Okay. Just curious.
Can I
'cause
throw
it's a
that
big deal.
reappointment policy in there or no?
It's your motion.
That's yours.
Sorry, a process. So is resolved and a reappointment process is defined in writing by the city council and city administration.
I'll second.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
you're at Councilman Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Milan, abstaining, okay, just wanted, you have to say it out loud, that's all. Thank you.
Mark it recused.
Recused, yes.
I'm abstaining.
We can't abstain, Madam Mayor, so it will be marked as recused, basically.
I believe I've read the charter where it says you can abstain. So,
fair enough.
well, either way, I'm not voting for obvious reasons, so no vote for me. Okay, so that, we just basically did nothing. So I would just like to say thank you to Susan Moffett and Tim Quinn for being willing to serve on this board. And I apologize that I may have caused any public shame or anything to you just because I exist. So appreciate your willingness to serve. And Mr. Nushai, thank you for your willingness to continue to serve. And then we'll move on to the next thing, which is, well, we've taken off discussion on establishing fiscal year 2023 goals, so we're skipping that one. We're going to move to item G, which is consideration of setting the fiscal year 2023-24 budget workshop dates. Mr. Raker.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, you received a memo from me on February 9th with some potential weeks for your consideration for budget workshops. Of note specifically, by charter, the second meeting in April should be the presentation of the budget, and then we'll have workshops, and then the second meeting in May is the approval by charter of the budget. So what I proposed to you was the potential from April 18th to the 21st of having a budget workshop. We could actually have a workshop in conjunction with our meeting if we'd like to have it after the meeting. And then we have April 24th to the 28th for session 2, somewhere in there. And then May 2nd is another opportunity to have a council meeting and a workshop, should you desire. Or we could have 3 separate workshops.
What was the one before May 2nd? I'm sorry.
It was April 24th to the 28th. That would
24th,
be,
okay.
I'm not available that week at all, the 24th or the 28th. And I would prefer that if we have a meeting that is not following a meeting, because sometimes our meetings are longer, and sometimes the budget item, I would like to give the budget proper consideration. I would like to be well-rested and have everyone else a little bit well-rested and interested in what's going on, and not just want to get out of a room because they're tired from the day. So I would hope that that could be held on its own separate meeting as well. That's my thought on that.
Mr. Tinlin has indicated that he's flexible those weeks, so we need some input.
I'm flexible.
Okay.
Sorry.
We got two for
No, I
flexibility.
may have mentioned I may be tied up with, from coaching perspective, but that will be as it is, and certainly, we don't have games at that point in time, but that first April, the 20th will work out.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The
first
20th of April?
20th of April?
Yeah, and then obviously, Madam Mayor, you said the 24th, 28th is not viable.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here.
I think May 2nd will also be capable, but again, that's after a meeting, so. I mean, that week, you're saying, for May 2nd? or-
I'm throwing options out there. You
Yeah,
can-
I would say that first week, I'm okay. For
First week in May?
Yeah, first week of May, yeah.
So let me.
Wednesday or Thursday? Does anyone have a preference that week? Bruce, do you have a preference?
I'll work around whatever.
Wednesday or
The
Thursday.
sooner the better in May,
Yep.
so that we could bolt on other meetings when and if necessary.
Aren't we talking about the 18th and the 21st? So is the 18th, I don't have a calendar in front of me, is the 18th Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So let's, go. Can we go with the 19th? Can I just say, let's do Wednesday, the 19th for our first meeting?
May?
No, April,
Oh,
she's doing
okay.
April
I was
first. So April 19th is a Wednesday.
April 19th for the first?
18th is tax day, right? So,
Yeah.
So you'll come in black.
Yep.
It'll be fine.
And then May
little
3rd, for the second meeting, would be the Wednesday.
May 3rd?
Yep.
So I have April.
Okay,
Come on,
so
slow
May-
down. April 19th is April 19th, Wednesday, and then the other one, I'm sorry, was?
Yeah, May 3rd would be a Wednesday,
Yeah, I'm sorry, April's what again?
19th.
19th, which is a Wednesday.
Okay. We can schedule another one, and if we don't need it, we can cancel it. But I think it would be wise for us to do that, just so that we plan for it, and we can always cancel it.
that Thursday, the 4th, just back-to-back?
Sounds
Thursday the
perfect.
4th.
Good.
Does that work for everyone?
Yep, Thursday the 4th
Yeah,
of May.
we need to.
What times? 7,
7:30?
7:30?
How long do these normally go?
I mean, last year, I think they went, I think we actually had one for sure bolted on in front of a meeting for an hour. And then I think workshop 3 was pretty brief, but workshop 2 went, that seemed to be where the majority of conversation was. I think there was a couple surprises in workshop 3, but for the most part, the heavy lifting was actually, most of the heavy lifting will be done for the budget, but there'll be, yeah, I think a couple hours.
7:30,
Tops.
that's fine.
We have
7:30?
absolute faith in Kelly to do a great job, right?
In the department.
And the department.
7:30 for all of them. Good?
If you want to do 7, I'm okay with 7. If you want to do a little earlier, that's,
I'm fine with, I'll make 7 work just to get out earlier. I might skate in at 7 or 7:05, but you can start without me.
7,
Right.
okay.
Try 7.
April 19th, a Wednesday, 7 PM. May 3rd, a Wednesday, 7 PM. May 4th, a Thursday, 7 PM.
Okay?
So we'll need that in the form of a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we hold budget workshops for the following dates: April 19th, 1,900 hours. May 3rd, 1,900 hours, and May 4th, 1,900 hours.
Second?
Say no till he says it in normal speak.
Lou would be smiling.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes, I agree to 7 o'clock.
Mayor Milan,
Yes to 7 o'clock as well.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Yes.
Okay, so we will now be holding budget workshops on April 19th at 7 PM, May 3rd at 7 PM, and May 4th at 7 PM. Mr. Raker, are you so thrilled?
I am thrilled. I would, since we're not having a discussion about goals, what is the thoughts of having do we want to try and put that on the calendar somewhere? And that would be in advance of the April 19th and April 18th meeting.
Let us get with Councilmember Sampson and make sure he's available for something moving forward. And then we'll make that a priority, something we probably all would like to do. Does that
I'll
sound
make sure,
like
I'll
good?
put it on the agenda. If I don't hear something not coordinated in advance, I'll make sure it's on the next agenda
Okay. You should
for
be able to
consideration.
firm something up before then, right? Okay, great. Next item on our agenda will be old unfinished business. Barring any old unfinished business, we will move to item 11, which is public comments for items not on the agenda. If you would like to speak on items not on the agenda. Lucio, you have any items you'd like to speak with? You can get extra credit from your, this is Lucio in the back. He's a Clausen resident. He attends Eaton Academy. He's here for a school, hey, it's a really good idea if you go to a public meeting thing, so he's fulfilling that responsibility. If you come to this little microphone over here, you can say whatever you'd like to us as long as it's clean and nice, and then you can get extra credit.
Oh my God, this is gonna be nerve-wracking.
Right?
Well, I mean, I did think of a question before I came here, and that was the question of, we actually kind of went over it with the, I've been down to Noble Fish a couple times, as a big fisher myself, I can't go a week without eating some kind of like rare exotic Brazino or something like that. So, I was thinking about that with the city property, them moving onto the thing, and with the sidewalk kind of like that, oh my gosh, it's terrifying. Was not ready for this.
All of Clausen is watching, Sarah.
Oh my God. This is even worse. Oh my God.
They're clapping for you, you're good.
So with a thing like that, you said with the public sidewalks, we need to be about 6 foot. You said about that with, like trees and stuff. With all that, you're worried about, the businesses coming too close to the road. I can see them, maybe 6 foot might be a little bit too, I'd say a little bit too close for comfort, because, I've been around my day, I grew up in the country, right, and all everything's like, 15 feet off the road where you grow up in Hazlet County. And then when, 6 foot kind of seems a little close. But, I mean, I'm no expert on this. I'm a high school student who is... Yeah, that's pretty much all I really wanted to say.
Well, 6 feet is code, and normally we don't speak during this time, but hey, let's throw caution to the wind. Can someone please approve me breaking Robert's rules so that, there's not another issue with me? Anyone?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion. You have active discussion with the public.
Thank you very much.
I'll support.
Do we need a roll call on that, Mr. Gitschlag?
Suspend the rule, yes, we do. Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Councilmember Shepherd,
Aye.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Yes.
Rules are suspended.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you for being brave to do this, and I'll speak for Nick just for a second, but I'll give it to Nick, but code, right? Like, it's what's required, and code's
Okay.
not always like looking for the best interest of everyone. It is maintaining a minimum standard, and I do
Okay.
a lot of specifications for an engineering company. Sometimes I'm very familiar with spacing on things like that. So, but Nick's learning as he goes, and he can help you out on this one. He's doing the investigation.
All right.
So we do have a bit of a buffer in our downtown because of the on-street parking, and so it's not like the seating is going to be right next to, cars going 25, 35 miles an hour. So the buffer of the parking definitely helps with the safety of the community. But, like we said earlier, we're definitely going to be making sure they don't encroach on that 6 feet distance.
Okay.
But thank you for your comments.
No problem. Is it bad I've been up here like 2 minutes and I'm sweating like it's 98 degrees?
You're
Is
doing
that
a great
bad?
job.
Oh, my goodness.
You look amazing, and you did wonderful, and we're really proud of you and glad you're part of Clausen.
Thank you. I had no idea how to show up. I'm literally wearing a flannel.
I mean, let's vote, you guys. What do you think? Good? I'm good. Anyone? Come on, don't leave me
Good for there.
standing here.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. This is community. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Well, is there anyone who'd actually like to speak? I don't know that he wanted to speak, but he did.
I was thinking about it. I wasn't too sure though.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Ben and I live on Kenilworth. I was hoping to come here today to talk about the goal setting. I saw it on the agenda today, so I was a little bit disappointed that it's not being talked about. But just from somewhat of a younger member of the community, I'd like to just make sure that we understand the tax rate in Clawson compared to other cities in Oakland County. So I did look up the local tax rate of Clawson, and I believe we're about the fourth highest tax rate in terms of millage at 65.8 in all of Oakland County. So I just hope that as the goal setting workshops and discussions go on, that's considered as part of our approach. I know we have a lot of roads to go with or roads to improve. So I really hope that if we go for a special millage, that's great, but that will also make our tax rate extremely high compared to everybody else in Oakland County. So I hope that's taken into consideration. So my ask would be that you take that into account and maybe look at other areas where we can maybe cut the budget so that our tax rate, is appropriate with other people or other communities in Oakland County. So that's just what I'd like to have to say. Thank you so much.
Ben, thank you for coming this evening. And I don't know
Yes.
if you heard earlier, but we have some openings on boards and commissions. And if you would be interested in serving in any capacity, please let us know.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're interested.
Okay. I'll think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close public comments now and do a city clerk's report. I see got put on this agenda.
Yeah, the only report is that I did discuss with each department head to please review their groups, and if there's people that are still interested in serving on their commissions, to give me the paperwork, and then we'll get you all that information as far as the, I think I sent out everyone the expiration dates and everything that was coming up. We're going to keep that, yeah. And we're currently budgeting for 4, possibly 5 elections next year, so get ready for that. So.
Any questions for our city clerk? No? Okay, we'll move on to the city attorney's report. Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor, just one brief item. On March 2nd, we had coffee with a cop. I attended, I know it was one of the items that Councilmember Sampson had requested, participation of the public. And I must say, I hadn't attended one in probably 7, 8 years, and it was outstanding. And attendance was perhaps a little too tepid for what it was. But if you haven't done so, I highly recommend the next one. It's actually outstanding. Almost the entire, obviously, both Chief Smith and Chief Bowes were there, as well as I felt like the entire morning shift. And it was outstanding, so I highly recommend it. Nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Last Friday's feedback, I informed you that we had a short notice to provide appropriations request to State Rep Sharon McDonald's office. The project that was submitted is a modified project from our capital improvements projects for Dreon and Stephan water main and road reconstruction. The scope of the request now covers water main and road reconstruction on Dreon Drive from Stephan Avenue to Langley Boulevard, Stephan Avenue from Dreon Drive to School Avenue, and School Avenue from North Bywood Road to Langley Boulevard. This area of road is arguably the worst in the city and is further complicated and costly due to the deteriorating asphalt cap over a deteriorated concrete road with failing water mains and valves under it. I'm happy to share that as of yesterday, that State Rep Sharon McDonald's office has selected our project to move forward for potential inclusion in the upcoming state budget, requesting $4,999,999. There's still much work for her office to do to get this project included, but this was the first major hurdle. An anticipated determination will be in June, as this will be for the fiscal year 23-24 budget. Special thanks to staff, specifically Assistant City Manager Nick Stepnitz, Finance Director Kelly Rao, DPW Superintendent Trevor Zablocki, Assistant DPW Superintendent Ryan McDonald, and our partners for city contracted city engineering services, Mike Smith with AEW.
Great. Is it possible you can include that information, we can have that information included in the minutes, please?
Sure. I'll get that report and put it in the minutes.
That's one of the things people often say, that they appreciate that you give information from your Friday report, but then they don't have the information. So if, like, that was a perfect example of something that's actually substantial that people would want to see. So thank you for that. Any other?
Yeah, I have a question. After reading your email, Mr. Raker, I thought I'd go check out the area. And yes, I think arguably it is probably the worst pavement in the city. It looks like it's a length of just under 3/4 of a mile. I just kind of tracked it. I mapped it right here. So it's a substantial amount of road and a substantial amount of money. I just have a question. You had already obtained grants, roughly 1.1 million from the federal programs, but you said there were certain strings attached that could stretch out the timing. How about this grant? What are the timing constraints and the conditions?
I don't know at this point in time, because I haven't asked that question. I'm actually busy working on another $2.4 million grant. But I asked them when the determination would be, and then after that, it will be the hoops that we got to jump through. I'm still waiting on the other federal hoops that we have to jump through, knowing that we are aware of them.
Okay, so you got a lot of hoops, all right.
There will be, but it's going to be well worth it if we get it.
Okay. Maybe it's too soon to say this $4.99 million. What are the probabilities in the past of I mean, obviously it's a big state with a lot of roads and how they apportion these things. How does that mechanism work? Is it an all or nothing proposition, for example? You either get the 5 or you get nothing, or?
It is actually. I asked the question specifically. I was like, hey, can I use $5 million in miscellaneous concrete and fix a lot of concrete throughout the entire city? And they weren't really, they wanted a project that was either, they wanted requests for two, one under $1 million and one under $5 million. And I socialized both. Actually, staff and I talked about the different ideas we had and within the CIP. And then from that, we developed a modification to maximize the amount of money, because a lot of our projects, our big projects, were coming in between 2.4 and 2.7, and we didn't want to leave $2.5 million on the table. So how do we quickly put these together? And between DPW leadership and AEW, they modified this very quickly to maximize the opportunity. So.
Okay. So right now, AEW has estimated this project at $4.99 million. As we've seen, though, some of these, the way the economy is going, the way inflation is going, the whole supply chain situation, there may be cost overruns. I'm assuming
We've already factored those into that number.
Oh,
So that we factored roughly 40% off of the numbers of the previous projects we've already talked about. We're trending, and I spoke with Mike Smith about this from AEW, the trend is roughly 35 to 40% cost overruns from what was spec'd out last year. And so we factored that in.
Okay. And if we come in under budget, do we keep the difference, or is it just?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think that'll be the case, but.
Yeah, again, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be, grasping too much.
Oh,
but-
we are.
But, okay, all right. And just another comment, you also got a grant, or applying for a grant, of not to exceed $500,000.
No, it's 1 million. It was not to exceed $1 million.
For the,
Miscellaneous concrete.
okay, and so you've already got a plan for that.
We applied for that, and so through her constituent communities, they asked for project ideas, one a large project under $5 million and one a small project. They felt that our large project was more attractive for our needs. I think I sent like 9 pictures of the really good bad ones. So they were compelling.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I have one question for you. I believe you sent information regarding potential uses for ARPA funds, and
Ma'am.
those items were all, everything's valid, right? I'm going to ask that maybe we get a list that includes some special kind of things, like I've said over and over again, I think we should do a couple projects if we can that are things that are just like above and beyond that all of the community will benefit for. And I know they benefit from new lights and from many of the things that you addressed on there. But is it possible that we can get maybe some extra fluffy things in that list as well?
I'll let you take on the fluffy extra things for the public, ma'am. I'm an administrator, straight up and down, and trying to keep it to the efficiency, the optimization. But if it's the will of the body, that's why I said in that memo, this is not an exhaustive list, but it's a list to rationalize. The ARPA funds is to address some of the economic impacts of COVID. And so whether it was supply chain, economic, commerce, labor, these are some of the things that from a safety, optimization, efficiency standpoint, that's just the rationalization I was putting out there for your consideration. Clearly, if we were to have, when we have discussions about this, I wouldn't characterize anything as fluffy, but mutually beneficial to the community, perhaps. So,
My fluffy would, of course, be beneficial to the community because much of our community likes fluff, right? And I don't mean anything that would be, wasteful in any stretch, but things that are maybe more geared towards personal use, interest, whether it's through our parks or through our library or through some different programming. And that's what I meant by it. That's kind of the thread I've been spreading all along. And I know we have limited resources, and I know we probably wouldn't want to spend it all that way, although it would be really fun. But I would like to take an opportunity to put some of those funds into things that we wouldn't normally do and give some of these, some of our departments a little bit more leeway to do some of the things that they haven't been able to do. And as important and great as lights are, again, I don't know, I think there's some other things we can look at, and I guess we can discuss those at budget times. And as always, I understand that it has to be approved by the entire body, but I would hope that the body would see that we need to do more than just hit, like the things that have to be taken care of always get taken care of one way or the other. But some things never get addressed because we never have any extra to do it. So I look at ARPA money, like I've said before, like that Christmas check from your Aunt Clara, who just, you don't see, but she sends you a check in the mail and you're really happy to have it. And you don't use it for bills, you use it for something fun. And that's what I'd like us to consider doing a little bit of. I'll get off my horse for that one, but city council comments, Councilmember Shepherd? Nope. Councilmember Tinley?
I always have to have a little bit of comment. I'd just like to thank all the citizens that have reached out to me with their thoughts on many topics. So I'm making a list, and I always get back with you by email. So special permit process, reappointment we talked about today, and then just community promotion of events. So that's it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Anderson?
No comment.
No comment. That sounds so ominous. So yesterday, went to, along with Councilmember Tinley, we both attended the Blair, Friends of the Blair Library, Blair Memorial Library. And they're like, I don't know, there were a lot of people in that room, 20-plus people at the meeting, and they were all kind of laughing because they said there's usually not that many people there, but everyone decided it would be a great idea on the same day. And part of they talked about their need for funds, their need for people to become friends of the library to help support their initiatives, which help support the library in ways that the library can't support itself due to they don't have lots of money. So one of the things they're doing is, as we heard last week, they have the second annual Blair Bazaar is coming on May 21st. One of the things that they're doing will be selling these bags, which if you're a bag, some people are bag people, they really like bags, right? If you like bags, this is a really nice bag. I'm just gonna show you, so you know you can actually put stuff in it. It's pretty sturdy. You can shield for the Blair Memorial Friends Library thing, and they're available for $10 at the library now. And you can also get them at that event on May 21st. And if you would like to be a crafter for that event on May 21st, please contact the Friends of the Library. Let them know what you're interested in doing. They're looking for people to occupy the craft spaces outside. And then tomorrow, I didn't think to grab this info, but they were talking about something that's going to take place on Saturday, which is a travel log type thing, and it's Jennifer Perkins, whom most people know, will be giving a travel log on one of her most recent trips. And I think it's at 11:30. Don't hold me to that. But if Jennifer's doing it, it's got to be fun. So if you're free on Saturday, go support the library. Go support Jennifer. And check online what time it is first, just in case I got it wrong. But that's all I have. I'd like to say thank you to everyone for constant support. Thank you, Lucio, for showing up tonight, and Ben, you too, for new faces. And just appreciate the community. And I will call for, if anyone would like to make a motion to dismiss.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Milan,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Tinlin,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
We always go quick at the end.
Meeting dismissed.
To my son's.